not saying he's
It's
a
not,
good investor,
he
but
doubled
I don't
the,
say he's the fountain of wisdom. I don't think he understands anything about economics and cycles.
well,
Nothing.
he doubled the S&P 500's returns for 40 years,
Because he's a
which is
value
pretty
investor.
good.
That's what's good about him.
Yeah. And so I don't do the hero worship thing. I just pick the snippets that I think are useful. So in this case, the snippet that I think is useful is that if you take all of the world's productive assets and you divide up their ownership amongst people, and then that's like one universe. And then you have this other universe where you take up all the world's productive assets, and then you add, quote, active managers that try and derive extra yield somehow magically. The productive stuff is still just the productive stuff, and the people that own it are still just the people that own it. And that extra class of people pretending to add value doesn't actually add any value.
Right.
And so his statement was that non-actively managed index funds would outperform actively managed funds over 10 years. And he made like $1 million bet on it, and he was right. And so it's, for me, it's the same with health insurance. Health insurance providers do not treat anyone. They are not doctors. They do not treat you. What they do is steal a third of the money that could have been used for treatment for bureaucracy. They don't do a fucking thing. They don't develop new medicine. They don't deploy new medicine. Everything sucks because it exists. So
they're there if you need an extreme amount of money, which most people don't. And you know how much savings most people have, don't you? That's the only thing they provide. I agree with it. It's not enough compared to what that they're taking.
So my point is that like there's these ways to make systems more efficient by cutting out people that pretend they're doing work but they're really not doing anything. And so insurance companies are one of those things, and some of finance is that. The active management is that by and large.
Yeah, we would be just fine with no active management. I agree with you. It doesn't add any real value long term.
Well, particularly when you've got a democratization of signals, as you have said. I mean, you went to Harvard, so you're a pretty smart dude, but you still are an armchair, became an economist just because you had to, because everyone else was so bad at it. Yeah. I mean, economists, if you want to talk about people that can't make any damn money in the market, economists cannot make any money in the market. They get wrecked left and right.
Richard, never had sex, never run a business.
Yeah, there you go.
They're smart people, but those two things tell you why they don't understand real life.
Yeah, but they
consumers
think they
drive our economy. They wouldn't know a consumer if they fell on them.
Yeah, I hear you. So the point that I'm getting to is when the government is willing to do something that they've never done before, which is actual health. Like people have always rumored like, oh, helicopter money. We actually have helicopter money now. They've inflated the M2, which is a measurement of free capital in the system, the kind of dollars that are available. 80% of all dollars that exist were printed in the last year or two. It's a big deal. And so when that money that's being printed has to land somewhere, period. And it's landing, so the rich are going to get richer, the poor are going to get poorer. Your wages aren't going to go up. You're going to lose your jobs.
Do you know where it's landing? It's not going into the economy. It's not.
No, it's going into GDP. It's going into anything you can invest in.
It's going into financial assets, which you're right, are owned 80% by the top 10% and mostly by the top 0.1 to 1%. You're exactly right. It makes the rich richer, adds nothing to the economy other than they're spending more money.
Right,
and
they're getting more.
The top 10% are almost 40% of GDP, so they're more than they sound like spending. Other than that wealth effect on spending, and that's artificial. It's not. You're right. It's not adding anything. That's why bubbles need to burst. They're unproductive uses and diversions of money. And everybody's in the stock market. Everybody's a day trader now. Everybody's a real estate flipper. Those are not productive assets. And guess what? I've got a measure for what you're saying, Richard, and I'm going to give it to you afterwards, okay? Money velocity. Mm-hmm. Money velocity tells you when money's being invested productively and then reinvested, and when it's not, and it's going more into unproductive investments or speculation. Guess how long money velocity has been crashing in most countries around the world?
Well, it's
since the mid to late 1990s, since all these bubbles started.
Well, it's a function of interest rate. So when they they literally raise interest rates to reduce money velocity, to make it harder to get money, to lower prices so prices don't rise. So like if
no, I'm disagree with you. It's actually the opposite. they have pushed interest rates increasingly lower, lower, lower. So money's free. So when something's free, it gets abused. People just speculate
Right.
with it. It's easy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
Lower interest rates have caused that, not
well, yeah.
higher.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Money
Is when they want to
velocity is
slow it
totally
down.
consistent with falling interest rates, artificially below what inflation rates would say they
I
should be,
agree with everything you
which
just
is
said.
easily measured.
Yes, I agree with all that. I was saying that when the Fed wants to stop and slow down the money velocity, to slow down rising prices, they increase interest rates to suck money out of the economy to get it locked into savings accounts. And they do the opposite when they want to flood the market with activity to try and make up for a pandemic or whatever they feel like they need to make up for. Then they reduce interest rates to zero, and in some countries negative, which is hilarious. So
And let me just go. That is what I would describe as the maybe single most unproductive function in the entire economy. I think we would do just fine with no central banks, period, except emergency funds when you get in a real crisis short term. All they do is tinker with the economy and jerk people around and do all this stuff and add not only no value, but more volatility, which actually takes value out.
But there's hidden upside to the American populace from this. So when
Like
America, well, when America is the reserve currency of the world and has debt and trade imbalances with other countries, when they devalue the dollars that they owe other people, they just pay them back with fake money, and then we get more for nothing. Like when the Asians are willing to work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, someone benefits from that, and it's everyone else that's getting their products, iPhone users, right? So like the first world and the rich people is sucking the life out of the poor people in the third world through this inflationary tactics. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Everything, if you're a high school graduate and you want to buy your house, you're fucked. You're not going to ever be able to buy a house, ever.
Exactly.
Because,
another good reason for a bubble to burst. So the millennials will be able to afford to buy a house in the future. They have no chance of making money on stocks at these rates or buying a house and making money.
I just don't think they're going to let it burst. I think they'd rather see the value of the dollar.
Okay, Richard, then let's play this forward, okay? The bubble keeps going up, up, up. Have you noticed the trajectory of it? It's called exponential. You think the market can double and double and double and double so that it's worth, right now, financial assets, by the way, I just quote you a real number, 6.5 times global GDP, stocks, bonds, and real estate.
Yeah, sure.
6.5 times. You know what normal is?
You know that's the Warren Buffett indicator you're quoting, right?
It's one of them.
No, but it's called the Warren Buffett indicator, the ratio of stock prices to GDP.
I don't care, Richard. I don't care. You want to give him all the credit. You want to listen to him. He's going to tell you.
I don't.
You
He doesn't understand crypto.
Buying U.S. large cap stocks, and he's going to be wronger than rain. I will say that today. If I'm wrong, tar and feather me.
He's gotten some things wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you want to listen to him. He's been so successful so long, he has no possible perhaps a way to have perspective. Success makes you complacent. Failure is the way people learn the fastest. I don't know if you've learned that, but I've certainly learned more from my ass kicking than my ass kissing in life. Okay?
I think it might be
agree
like
or not.
A valley.
The audience can agree or not with me on that one.
So we agree on almost everything so far.
Except you say you can keep a bubble going forever. Do you ever seen a bubble that they kept going forever?
Yeah.
You know, in 1929, the head economist said we're at a permanent plateau of prosperity, and that's exactly when it peaked and crashed. 89%.
Listen, I mined Bitcoin full block solo with no pool, 50 Bitcoin block rewards on my computer alone when it was 50 cents. It went up 5 million x, 5 million times, 5 million fold, 500 million
percent. If it keeps doing that in the same time periods, it'll be worth more than not only the Earth, but all the planetary system. And I think at some point that'll be unsustainable. Do you agree with that?
I think
that at some point, exponential growth like that will be unsustainable.
Unless you're looking at the dollar price chart and the dollar is worth very little.
I don't care about the dollar. The dollar doesn't make a difference either. The real economy does, and you can measure that in anything you want. Okay. So gold is not the best measure.
No, gold sucks. Like gold is down lower now than it was 10 years ago.
Bitcoin's not the best measure either because it's an exponential growing early stage thing that's the most volatile single asset on the earth. You measure anything against that, you got to be crazy. I'm a big fan of gold, Bitcoin, and blockchain. It's just early stage. You know?
So let's look at it. Let's look at it differently. So let's say that all of this is just a fake Rube Goldberg machine. All of finance.
Totally fake.
Well, I'm just saying,
financial
as a thought
assets part.
experiment.
Hey, let's step back, Richard. Our productive capacity, the cars we're producing, the computers, the software, none of this is fake, okay? Some of it's been leveraged more than it should, which means we got overcapacity. But it's the financial assets that are